My name is Josh of J. Muckle Flooring, and this is my story. I grew up in construction, working with my dad. He was a remodeler and he's a flipper. After college, I got involved in telecommunications and in sales. I was working on a cell phone tower one day in Chicago in January, 200 feet up in the air, working on an antenna, thinking, this is miserable. This is the worst thing I could possibly be doing. And later on while I was thinking about that, I ended up giving my brother-in-law a call. And we ended up talking about what he was doing. And he was installing floors at the time in Indianapolis. Being an installer and installing floors, that was something I thought, man, he's doing better than I am. And just installing floors, that's something that I can do. So I set out to start installing floors. Shortly after that, I moved to Indianapolis to be closer to family members and started going out and looking for jobs at local floor stores as an installer on my own. I did that for a couple years. Several years I was an installer, and I started selling jobs on my own via the lead platforms. But I got burned out, and in 2019 I started working for an Indianapolis floor store. Bill, the guy who had invited me over to work with him to begin with, had started his own floor store, and I went on staff there as a project manager. During my time there, I got to learn a lot about the retail side of it. What does the relationship look like with the distributors? What does the retailer's relationship look like with the customer? And what does the installer's relationship look like with the customer, all at once? In 2020, I got married, and this is going to be relevant because in 2021, I got a call from my wife on February 1st saying that because our insurance was not going to cover the bill for our daughter, who's going to be born in 6 months, the hospital would not let us have the baby there unless we were prepared to pay nearly the full amount. It was expected to be about $15,000. She was crying, and she said, what are we going to do? And I said, we'll figure it out. So when your wife is expecting in 6 months and insurance won't cover it, and the hospital won't set you up a payment plan, I did what anyone would do. I went to work, walked in my boss's office. I told Phil, I have to quit. I have to leave because I can't make enough money quick enough to pay for this baby in 6 months. Upon leaving Indianapolis Floor Store, I jumped right back into the installs, started making as much as I could to save up for the baby. Thank God it was provided for, and we ended up having enough to pay for our first daughter, Evelyn, to be born. But once the cost of Evelyn was covered, I knew that I didn't want to just go back to being an installer. So it was going to be a retail company now. And I knew that we wanted our own store. So started selling jobs, getting installers setting up. I even bought a space, or at least a space, here in Indianapolis. The next big piece that I needed was somebody to help me with sales and project management. So I have a brother named Daniel who's also an installer at the time, and he had been working with 2 of his helpers. And I was waiting for just the right time to ask him to bring him on board, because one day, both of his installers quit on him on the same day. He was booked, and he went from having 2 helpers to having none. So I took that opportunity to say, Daniel, maybe your installation days should be done and you should come on and work with me instead. And we will build a flooring company that will be the most helpful flooring company in Indianapolis. Since, I think that was 2022, since 2022, Daniel has been working with us, serving in the field, helping answering people's questions. And we've just been building towards having a company that would be helpful, that would protect people from getting scammed or ripped off, for being transparent. That's the goal moving forward. Our goal is to make sure that the company provides as much value to you as possible. We don't want people to have to be ripped off. We don't want you to pay several times more than you should for a floor, to have bad installers, to have a floor that you can't get in communication with your reps or the company. We want it to be so helpful that you don't have to make those mistakes on your floors ever again. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, the decision to be the most helpful floor store in Indianapolis isn't about us. It's about helping you. And that'll be our story.